Namaskar, welcome in this lecture series on software engineering fundamentals. I am Dr. Keswani, professor in Suresh Gyan Vihar University. In today's lecture, we will discuss about user interface design. These are some learning objectives and learning outcomes of this lecture. Through this lecture, you will learn all insights about user interface design in detail. After the completion of this lecture, you will be able to understand the importance of user interface design and what are the advantages of GUI, graphical user interface. These are some points to be discussed during the lecture. First of all, uh, an overview about the user interface given to you. Evolution of user interface. We will discuss about it. User interface design elements are there. Several elements are there. So we will discuss about those elements related to the user interface design. Then what are the good qualities? What are the qualities of a good user interface design? We will discuss about them. Then we will discuss about graphical user interface and elements of graphical user interface design. What are the various elements? We will discuss in this lecture. First of all, let us have a look about the uh, what is user interface actually. The user interface is the point at which human users interact with a computer, a website, or application. And the goal of effective UI is to make the user's experience easy and effective, requiring minimum efforts on the user's part to receive maximum desired outcomes. So, user interface refers to the methods and devices that are used to accommodate interaction between machines and the user. User interface can take on many forms but always accomplish two fundamental tasks. The first task is communicating information from the machine to the user, and second is communicating information from the user to the machine. The most common communication bridge between a person and a computer system is a visual display terminal. A well-defined screen can increase the human processing speed, it reduces the human errors, and speed increase the speed of computer processing time. According to the Oxford English Dictionary, an interface is a surface uh, separating two portions of matter or space and forming their common boundaries. So, a place or a region or a place of equipment where interactions occur between two systems, organizations, or persons. Okay, so there are several other perceptions about user interface, like as per one perception, it is the bridge between the world of the products or some and or product or system and the world of the user. And on the other hand, the as per the other perception, uh, the means by which the user interact with the product or system to achieve their goals is called user interface. The means by which the product or system reveals itself to the user and behaves in relation to the user's need is sometimes called as user interface. And as far as the customer is concerned, the user interface is the product. So there are several perceptions. Every scientist uh, made his or her own definitions, have their own perception, and they define the user interface in a different manner. Let us talk about the evolution of user interface. The evolution of, as you see in this figure, the evolution of user interface design can be broken down into four periods: the age of tools, the age of machine, and the age of software, and the age of the self. With this rapid growth and exploration into human interaction with objects, the environment, and technology has become essential. In 1983, Apple introduced the Lisa, the first computer with a GUI, an important moment in the evolution of user interface, as the Lisa was also the first computer developed for personal use. So this is the journey of uh, user interface. There are two major factors that separated GUI interface from CUI interface. CUI means character based user interface. So, uh, one was the use of graphics to communicate information to the user visually in addition to textually. And second is uh, the uh, to prevent a number of options. It provided to present a number of options to the user rather than requiring the users to memorize and manually enter commands from a virtual uh, unlimited set of options. So in this way, the interface was focused on the need of the human beings rather than the other way around. This significantly reduced the training that was necessary to use a computer, and for the first time, un, uninitiated users were able to become productive almost immediately. So, when we talk about evolution of user interface, it started in the age of tool, and it ends with the age of self. There are several user interface design principles: the principle of user profiling, the principle of metaphor, the principle of feature exposure, the principle of coherence, the principle of state visualization, principle of shortcuts, principle of focus, principle of grammar, principle of help, principle of safety, principle of context, principle of user training, and principle of humanity. So there are several principles uh, when we talk about the user interface designs. There are several principles governed. User interface design is governed by these principles. So the principle of user profiling is related to uh, know your user first. Okay, principle of metaphor is related to the borrow behavior from systems familiar to your users, and principle of future exposure states that let the user see clearly what functions are available. Principle of coherence states the behavior of the program should be coherent, that is, internally and externally consistent. There are two types of consistency. You all know that internal consistency is there and external consistency is there. So, the behavior of the program should be coherent, uh, that is, internally and externally consistent. The principle of state visualization suggests and states that changes in behavior should be reflected in the appearance of the program, whereas principles of shortcut states that uh, it provides both concrete and abstract way of getting a task done. Principle of focus states that some aspects of the user interface attract attention more than others do. Principle of grammar states a user interface is a kind of language, know what the rules are. Principle of help states that understand the different kind of help a user needs. Principle of safety states that let the user develop confidence by providing a safety net. Principle of context states that limit user activity to one well-defined context unless there is a good reason not to do. And principle of user testing is stating that recruit help in spotting the inevitable defects in your design. Principle of humility states that listen to what ordinary people have to say. So these are the principles related to the you can say the user interface principles. Let us discuss about the user interface design elements. There are several design elements, uh, important elements of user design interface design: menu, modes, element operations, dialog windows, color, and sound. These are the uh, important elements of user interface design. Let us discuss about menu. The requirements to decomposition the user dialog into elementary operations into menus, that the input of commands should take place via a minimum of individual actions. Menu commands provides a menu to achieve this goal. So when we classified the menu, there are two types of menus. First is pop-up menu, more efficient because they can appear at any position, therefore they require less mouse movement. And second is pull-down menu, which permits better structuring of an extensive set of commands and are easier to use with a single button mouse. So the user can click on the menu bar with the mouse to display all the commands belonging to a menu and can select a command likewise with the mouse. When we talk about menu commands classification, there are three types of menu commands: directly executable commands, commands with parameters, or commands for switching mode. So, uh, in the direct executable commands, uh, including all menu commands that require no parameters or that operate on the current selection. For for example, commands cut and paste are Elementary operations. When we talk about commands with parameters are very similar in effect to those in the first class. They differ primarily in the user actions that are required to execute them. For example, text editor command find and find next locate certain character in a text. And the last thing, that is commands for switching mode. Instead of manipulating data, the menu commands for switching modes cause a change in mode that affects subsequent commands or the way in which data are displayed. Switching between insert and overwrite mode and the command show controls in a text editor to display normally invisible control characters. There are some general tips about the menu commands. Uh, a frequent neglected task is the design of a system is the choice of appropriate wording for the menu commands. Apply the rules that the command should be as short as possible yet still manageable. In the design of a menu system, similar commands should be grouped together under the same menu. The menu frequently a command is used, the higher in the menu it should be placed to avoid unnecessary mouse motions. The basic possibility for handling the situation where a command is invoked in a mode where it cannot be executed. The first is the command has no effect, and this variant is easier to implement but can cause confusion and frustration for the user when the command fails to function in certain situations. An error message is displayed. When an error message is displayed, the possibility is preferred over the first because the user can be advised why the execution of command is impossible. And if the same situation arises rapidly, the recurring error messages tend to irritate the user and the command is disable. The best choice is to prevent the selection of a senseless command from the start. To achieve this goal, the command should not be removed from the menu, which would confuse an occasional user and cause a search in vain for, for the command. It is better to mark non-executable commands as disabled in some suitable form. The second thing is mode. A program mode is a situation in which the user can only execute a limited number of operations. So, uh, different modes are available in different operating systems or different user interfaces. When we talk about elementary operations, the key to avoiding modes is the decomposition of the overall user dialogues into elementary operations. In modern text editors, a block of line of a text can be moved to a uh, new position in the text for four elementary operations. What are these four elementary operations? The first is selection of the block of lines. Second is menu command cut. Fourth is move the cursor to the new position. And the last is menu command paste. So this copy paste principle permits the user to change of mind or corrections after each elementary operation, and the user first determines what is to be manipulated and only then what is to occur, whereas in command language the user first establishes the operation and then specify the parameters. When we talk about dialog windows should be structured to minimize static text. Static text is used for titles or levels and explanations. In particular, avoid long explanations by means of adequate labeling of the elements available to the user. As far as possible, user editable text only for inputting character string. And for the inputting of number, other user interface elements do a better job of eliminating errors. So these are some the importance of dialog window. Dialog windows are the important element of user interface design. So basically, uh, yes, let us discuss about the color. Color is the another property, another element of design element. It is useful, very much useful in user interface design. There are several types of designs available, and design palette is also available for design is used not only to use to for decoration of the text. It is sometimes used for uh, uh, differentiation to make differentiate uh, about in differentiation in true text. Okay. The next and last one is sound. Sound is an excellent way to attract attention, and it should only be used when the user's attention is really required, but never as simple background for others' actions. Actions. So, appropriate application of sound includes error situations and the occurrence of temporarily uncertain events such as the end of extended procedures. Okay. So these are some user interface design elements. Let us discuss about the qualities of a good user interface design. There are several qualities enlisted here in this slide. These are the important qualities of good user interface design. Uh, Simplicity means user interface should be simple, minimize the number of mouse clicks or keystrokes required to accomplish a particular task. It is important not to add features just because it is possible to do so, and features should not be included on the user interface unless uh, there is a complaining uh, need for them, and they add significant value to the application. When we talk about consistency, the interface should have a certain consistency. Inconsistency will make it more difficult to use and less powerful. And when we talk about prevention, a useful user interface should prevent users for performing an inappropriate task in the first place. This is accomplished by disabling or graying out certain elements under certain conditions. So prevention is important quality of UID. Then forgiveness. Forgiveness can encourage users to use the software to a full extent. Designers should provide users with a way out when users find themselves somewhere they should not be. A good tip to keep users from inadvertently causing damage is to avoid the use of the OK button in critical situations. And it is much better to have button labels that clearly indicate the action that will be taken. When we talk about graphic interface design, a graphic interface design provides a screen display that create an operating environment for the user and form an explicit visual and functional context for the computer user section. And it consists of standard objects such as buttons, icons, text fields, windows, and pull down or pop up screen menus. The graphical user interface of a computer system includes the interaction, metaphors, images, and concepts used to convey functions and meaning on a computer screen. GUI is a very important quality of any good UID. Okay, then in the last, when we talk about aesthetics, it is crucial to present an attractive user interface. And while aesthetic do not directly impact the effectiveness of a user interface, users will be happier and therefore more productive if they are presented with a pleasing user interface. So there are several characteristics we have discussed here in this slide. Some additional qualities or characteristics are also expected in the good user interface design, like ease of learning, speed of use, user satisfaction, robustness, and knowledge retention. These are some important qualities, additional quality features. Okay, let us discuss about the graphical user interface, which is graphical user interface consists of icons, menus, buttons, selection boxes, scroll box, scroll bars, and other design elements. So you can see here, this is the example of GUI. This is the dialog box for or options. Many options are available here. This is the um, dialog box in Windows application, and it works. It you can uh, treat it as a example of GUI. So here in this illustration, you can see the drop down list available here. If the printer name of the printer or um, multiple types of printers available and installed in your system, then you can have a list of installed printers and you can select printer of your choice. Okay, then there are some radio buttons in the page range, like all or current page or pages. So there are some radio buttons, there are some check boxes, there are some uh, you can say uh, level and text boxes. So uh, from the drop down list, you can select all the uh, pre predefined or prefix options, but in the custom option, you can make you can execute command as per your requirements. Like in this example, in under the page setup option, you when you uh, check the pages option, and then a box is appeared here, and you can give the range of your pages. Like you want to print the first page or uh, first page to seventh page, then give the range first dash seven. Okay, So this is the simple example of GUI. Then let us discuss about the various elements of uh, GUI design: windows, events, pull-down menus, icons, push buttons, checkboxes, radio buttons, scrolling listing lists, text field, pop-up list, and spin boxes and sliders are the component of, you can say, uh, components of or various elements of GUI. So when we talk about Windows, the most comprehensive element used in GUI is the windows. It could be considered to be a metaphor for the windows, and but it is dependent on uh, ideas for its operations. And the video screen itself can be considered to be a window into the computer. And in character-based interface, it was the only window into the computer and was not really treated, really thought of as such. The GUI concept allowed for the user to see into multiple areas within the computer, and the Windows metaphor was born. When we talk about events, an event with respect to the user interface is any function initiated by the user and selecting something from a pull-down menu, checking a button or a checkbox, and closing a window are all examples of event. So there are ample of elements available. Pull down menu or drop down menu, we can say. These are the menus from the menu bar, and these provides the facility to drop down, or you can say they provides a platform to you to make menus drop down menu, because the user does not need to hold the mouse button down in the order for the menu to remain visible. So you can make various pull down menus easily. You can make some icons or push buttons. Here, a push button is simply a rectangle and that appear on a panel with some sort of label or icon inside. You can draw icons also. Icons are the integral part of GUI. Icons are small pictures that are generally represent objectives in the physical world and are used as metaphors for functions or actions. So icons can be checkable and used to initiate an event, and these are sometimes referred to as a button. When we talk about checkboxes, a checkbox is a small square with some sort of label beside it. Checking or clicking on a checkbox will cause an X to appear in the box. Checking it again will cause the X is disappear. When we talk about a radio button is a small circle with some sort of label inside in it. A black dot inside the circle indicates that the button is selected. The absence of a dot indicates that the button is unselected. Only one button can be pushed in at a time. Similarly, with the radio button from object cleaning and on one option will cause whether other options will had been selected to become unselected. So, when applicable, a radio button should be placed in a logical order, and don't use radio buttons for binary choices. The next one is scrolling list. Scrolling list are list of events that appear in the box with a scroll bar on the side and allowing the user to scroll through the through the elements in the list, and in this way the list can contain uh, more elements than can be displayed at any one time. Text field is also there. A text field is simply a space in which the user can type text. And pop-up list. A pop-up list appears initially as a box con- and in a box containing some sort of levels, and when the user clicks on the box, a larger box containing a variety of choices will pop up. So, by moving the mouse, the user can cause another choice to become selected. When the user releases the mouse pop-up mouse will disappear, yeah, leaving currently selected choice to appear in the box. When we talk about a spin box is a box containing some value with up the down arrows on one side and generally a level of the other. When we talk about sliders, a slider is a black box with a control that the user is able to slide one way or the other. It is uh, another sort of very important concept, very important element of GUI design. So that's all from my side. If you have any query, then you can consult some books, name of some books which uh, I will discuss with you in the last of this lecture. Let us discuss about the assessment process and objective type questions. Which of the following is golden rule of the interface design is the first question. The expected answers are place the user in control, reduce the user's memory load, make the interface consistent, or all of the mentioned. The right answer is all of the mentioned. Which of the following is not a design principle that allow the user to maintain control? Provide the flexible interaction, apply interactive interaction to be interruptable and undoable. And third is show uh, interfaces, technical internals from the casual user. And lastly, design for direct interaction with subject that appears on the screen. So the right answer is C, showing technical internals from the casual user. In the third question, which of the following is not a user interface design process? The answer is use track and environment and modeling. The second option is interface design. Third is knowledgeable friend request uses, and lastly interface validation. So the answer is C, knowledgeable frequent users. Let us discuss about the fourth question. When users are involved in complex tasks, the demand on dash can be significant. There are four options again: uh, short-term memory, shortcuts, object and appear on the screens, and all of the above. So the answer is A, short-term memory. The next question, which of the following option is not considered by the interface design? The design of interfaces between software components. Secondly, the design of interfaces between the software and human procedures and requirement of information. The design of the interface between two computers and all of the mentioned. So the right answer is C, the design of the interface between two computers. The next question, software might allow a user to interact via keyboard command, via mouse movement, or uh, Vedic, sorry, voice recognition commands, or all of the mentioned. So right answer is all of the mentioned. In the next question, a software engineer designs the user interface by applying an interface interactive process that draws on prescribed uh, design principles, whether it is true or false. The right answer is true. What incorporates data architecture interface and procedural representation of the software? Design module, user module, ment, men, mensual module, image, or system image. The right answer is design method. What established the profile of end users of the system? Design model, user model, mental image, or system image. The right answer is P, users model. In the next question, what combines the out, outward manifestation of the computer based system occupied with all supported information and describes system is, syntax and semantics? There are four options. First option is mental image, second is interface image, third is system image, fourth is interface validation. So the right answer is C, that is image, system image. So this is all from my side. If you still have some query, then please consult with these books. And thank you very much.